years to come. And therefore, the profile of jobs that's going to become available has already changed, is going to change even more in the years to come. That's point number one. That the kind of jobs that will be created in future will be of a different nature than they have been in the past. We will not need traditional trained kind of a workforce that have suited us well in the past, including engineering graduates. I'll come back to this later. The second thing that has been happening globally, if you look around, I'm sure you, as young people, you have studied, you have thought about it, you have been reading newspapers. The world economy, if you look at the major economies or the major nations of the world, they have also gone through a transition with the time. From agriculture dominant to manufacturing, where the Europeans took the lead, and then later on the pendulum shifted to US, to services, and now you find that in developed countries, agriculture does not contribute more than 2 to 3% of GDP. Hardly few people are engaged in that sector. So obviously, if you are looking at that there are going to be more jobs, globally, because job market is anyway global today. In some of the traditional sectors, that's not going to be so. In India, we lament the fact that we have not been able to create enough jobs in manufacturing sector for various reasons. Where manufacturing sector contributes 42% of GDP in China, in India it is still about 20-21%. And now, if we want to really kind of follow either the Chinese model or the 19th century or the early 20th century, the Western model, I think given the cost and the technology equation, it's not going to be possible. If you're thinking that India can become tomorrow a manufacturing hub, I think there are a lot of issues there in terms of size, technology, and cost. So then again, the kind of jobs, obviously, that are going to come along in the years to come are going to be more and more services sector and services of a different type, and the services it will be more and more linked to lifestyles. And I'll come back to what I'm talking about. So, two things. One, technology and machines are going to change the profile of future jobs. And second, the economic evolution in terms of the structure of the economies. If India becomes from developing to a developed country in the years, then the kind of jobs that will be created will be in the sectors which will be more and more service oriented. Now come back from there to India. Yes, share of agriculture in GDP is certainly going down. Yet, I'm sure you and I know, very large number of people still depend on that sector, about 60%. In terms of productivity gains, we have not maintained a very healthy trend out there. So we have opportunities where we can use technology much more meaningfully. First, to enhance productivity in agriculture sector, and secondly, given that we have now acquired the reputation that India is the largest producer of milk, India is the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables. Imagine the kind of value-added opportunities that are possible. The kind of value-added opportunities that are possible. And therefore, though we might think that agriculture is not going to, like it doesn't right now, like manufacturing, doesn't create jobs where professionals like you or the MBAs can really be absorbed, but I have a feeling that there's going to be another transition in that sector. There's going to be, if I may use the word, another revolution, and there's going to be huge opportunity as far as that sector is involved. I'm not saying in the farming directly, but linking the farming right up to the retail and, and value addition, processing, food processing. There's going to be a huge growth in jobs in the years to come. As long as we often say that if agriculture in this country can grow at 4% plus consistently, then we can grow as a nation at 10% plus. So that's one area where you have to be more optimistic. Don't think that sector is not something low paying, it's not for you, but there's a huge opportunity that's going to emerge if India has to stay, on the course of development. The second area is manufacturing. Manufacturing in India, given our policies, given the kind of vision we have, and given the fact that some of the exports are linked to our manufacturing, I think selectively there will be a growth in certain sectors, and who knows, there could be a time when India could become a major hub for automobiles, consumer electronics, and some of the other engineering and other items, not for high tech, but the items which demand for which is going to grow in India. So there will be selective growth as far as that sector is concerned, but the maximum growth of jobs is going to come from the services sector. Look at 2 or 3 areas. We all know that financial services sector, and I think every budding MBA, one of the preferences, I'm sure, is to join one of the top investment banks or top consulting firm or, one of the other equity research firms. Imagine in this country of 1.3 billion people, where if you look at access to banking facilities, until recently it was 30-35%. Today, with a lot of thrust on financial inclusion, it might at best be at 40%. Imagine only the 40% of our population has access to organized banking services. The remaining 60% have to still be brought into the financial ambit. And imagine what that means. What that means in terms of size, what that means in terms of volumes, and what it means in terms of number of professionals that we need to take that sector forward. And the credit growth comes from, if credit growth is possible, if stable, accelerated credit growth is possible, if we have a robust institutional credit system. And it is a well-known fact that if the credit grows by 2% in an economy, the growth rate goes up by 1%. So that's the kind of link. So the access to credit, to a multiplier effect, can lead to much higher growth and much higher job creation. So that's a sector which is going to continue to grow. There will be hiccups depending on what happens in the international financial markets, But please remember, financial market is not only about stock market. The area of risk management is another area which is going to grow phenomenally, because most of us still do not understand risks. Risk as a concept we know, but the risk of doing business or being in a particular sector. There's the enterprise level risk, there's the financial risk, and there is, the price risk that happens. So risk management, research in financial markets, I think it's going to be an area which is going to continue to grow and grow even at a higher rate in the years to come. The third area is, if you look at it globally, you'll find that urbanization with development grows. In India right now we have 32 up to 35% population living in cities and remaining 65 still in rural areas. As our development continues, as we become more and more a middle level or become a developed country in the years to come, the global trend shows that most countries have urbanization, where 70% of population lives in the urban areas and only 30% lives in the rural areas. Now then I think it made imagine the kind of growth in urbanization that's going to take place in the years to come, the kind of growth in terms of demand of the services in the urban centers, and the kind of jobs, including managing local governments, including managing cities, and providing different services. The rate at which the requirements are going to grow is another area where I think we should look forward. Fourth area is basically health services, and that's where in India penetration of health services, access to affordable health services, health care, I think is abysmal. We have a very low score as far as that is concerned, and as the per capita incomes grow, as the middle class starts expanding, we will have a very, if I may use the word, explosive growth as far as that area is concerned, and that's one area which is going to provide huge opportunities as far as jobs are concerned. The professionals from institutions like IMRT have to be ready, learn, acquire knowledge and skills for jobs which are not only available today, but jobs that are going to be available tomorrow. You have to look around for the future trends in technology, the way organizations operate, and rather than getting into forecasting of future, look around and observe the future around you. Some amount of future you will find in Delhi, some amount of future you will find in Mumbai, and some amount of future you go to London and New York, you will find that people are already doing certain things which are so different, and I'm sure that kind of trend is going to catch up in our own market. And I think that is the kind of vision our institutions must take. Try to look at future, try to look at future needs, and try to look at future skills and knowledge that our professionals will need, and prepare our young graduates for that. Because we all know in a market-led economies, it's competitive. Sometimes say the competition is a dog eats dog. I could modify that. It's not that. Competitive pressures are high, yet people are not realizing competition alone is not the way to be successful. If you're most competitive, it's not necessarily the best strategy that you will be able to sustain that kind of position at the top and your growth. And I think collaborative competitiveness is what everybody is talking about today. Because if you know that story, like you have to outrun the other. If you know the story, these two friends were walking through a jungle, and it was a nightfall, sunset, and they kept on going. And they knew that there was a tiger in the jungle, and they suspected that they could be attacked any time. So one of the friends took out his running shoes from his bag. So the other friend asked, "Do you really think that you can outrun the tiger?"